AK-47. Besides having arguably the greatest nickname of all time, Andrei Kirilenko was one of the most underrated players of all time. In the 2000s with the Utah Jazz, Kirilenko was known to be an incredibly versatile player. He could guard pretty much anyone from point guard to power forward, even some centers as well with his 7'4" wingspan at just 6'9". On the perimeter, he had the quickness and his lateral movement rivaled that of any great defensive guard. Combined with his long arms, agile yet strong frame, Kirilenko was the ideal defender of his era, and in any era too. The original version of Draymond Green, but offensively, Kirilenko was much better. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and in this video, we're gonna take a look at the career of Andrei Kirilenko. How good was he actually? How come he never became a legit superstar? What held him back? And why did he suffer a major drop-off in the middle of his prime? Those questions will be answered in this video. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. From a very young age, Kirilenko was interested in basketball. He played in the professional Russian league at the age of 15, and throughout his career, he always represented the Russian national team. Prior to the 1999 NBA draft, Kirilenko was rather unknown by the masses. NBA scouts who've been to Russia, potential was too good to pass up. And with the 24th pick of the draft, the Utah Jazz chose him. But it would still be quite a while before he came over to the States. Until 2001, Kirilenko continued to play for CSKA Moscow, and he impressed a lot of fans at the 2000 Olympics and FIBA. However, at the start of the 2001-2 season, AK-47 came in hot and came in ready. Joining Utah at this period was a difficult task. Karl Malone and John Stockton were at the tail ends of their career, and the motivation to chase the title was rapidly withering away. But with the arrival of Kirilenko, he brought the franchise a new hope. As a rookie, he put up modest numbers, with averages of nearly 11 points and 5 rebounds. But his primary contributions were not just that. Kirilenko did a little bit of everything. From extreme hustle plays to crashing the offensive glass, to defending all kinds of players, it showed in his box score numbers too, as he averaged 1.4 steals and 1.9 blocks per game, in just 26 minutes a night. By his third season, with John Stockton retiring and Karl Malone leaving for Los Angeles, the 22-year-old Kirilenko became the new franchise player. This was his true breakout year. And he proved he could certainly take the reins to lead the franchise, making his first and only All-Star appearance of his NBA career. He averaged a career high in points and rebounds, leading his team in both categories, while developing a three-point shot, an aspect that was previously a huge weakness. He recorded nearly 2 steals and nearly 3 blocks per game, and showed off his new flair. Before, he never had the chance to showcase his passing skills, mainly cause Stockton was always the guy in charge. Kirilenko captivated the crowd with his unique style of play, especially during an era where people associate superstars with people who score a lot of points. Kirilenko wasn't your typical star, but he was effective nonetheless. Despite everyone believing the Jazz were dead in the water, Kirilenko led them to a respectable 42-40 record, barely missing the playoffs by 1 game. His 03-04 campaign, in addition to a few years following, they might not look super impressive on paper. But diving deeper, it turns out he was in a very elite category of players. He would join Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, and Julius Erving as the only players to finish the season with at least 200 blocks and 150 steals. He had a box plus-minus of plus 7.9 in the 03-04 season, third best in the league behind only Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan. He led his entire team in 12 different statistical categories while finishing with second team all-defense. Unfortunately, his development stunted. In the following year, Kirilenko suffered numerous injuries, culminating with a major wrist injury. In a report from March 2005, it stated, Kirilenko sustained clean breaks of both the radius and ulna bones. He also sustained what Mason called a mild sprain of the right wrist. It's frustrating, said Kirilenko, his left arm in a sling and the wrist in a splint. All I can do is try to recover as much as possible and heal it good, be ready to play next season. He was having a fantastic season, even leading the entire league in blocks per game, but missed half the season because of injury problems. Fortunately, he recovered well, and over the next few years, he kept up the same pace, continuing to put up great numbers. Along the way, the Jazz quickly transformed into a playoff team once again, with new additions like Mehmet Okur, Carlos Boozer, and Darren Williams. As a result, Kirilenko's role shifted. No longer was he the main focal point of the team. Instead, he maximized his role as a supporting player, a very good one though. He never really cared about the spotlight or the fame, just about winning, and that's what happened. The Jazz would win 50-plus games for many consecutive seasons and had many consecutive playoff runs. Despite the team's success, there was a blip in Kirilenko's career. In the 2006-07 season, his numbers plummeted across the board. He certainly struggled coping with not being the focal point anymore. It was a rough transition, leading to many arguments with his coaching staff, a lot of times getting benched at the end of games, all in the midst of rampant trade rumors. Oh, and apparently, he was addicted to playing World of Warcraft. In a road trippin' podcast with RJ, Channing, and Tim Duncan, they jokingly talked about Kirilenko staying up until 3 a.m. before game days, just playing WoW. Apparently, Kirilenko had multiple max-level characters and was super invested in the game.
Okay, but we were serious. How serious was Andrei Kirilenko, though?
Yeah, no, he had like 4 or 5 maxed out players.
Yes,
he just he was crazy.
I remember I was going to get a DMP, and we were playing Utah, and it was 3 a.m, and all of a sudden, he's like, you see his character run across, he's like, Channing, what's up? And I'm like, don't you play tomorrow? He goes, yeah, probably. And I'm like,
yeah, that was all of us, though.
Coincidentally, at the time WoW came out, his game on the court started to drop off and he became less motivated. Or maybe it wasn't a coincidence. Anyway, he capped off an unspectacular 06-07 season by getting obliterated by Baron Davis. Kirilenko did have a fairly good playoff run though, as the Jazz reached the conference finals, falling in 5 games to San Antonio. By 2008, he did bounce back a little bit, but for the most part, he had no more ambitions to become a superstar. At this point, he was just a mere role player, a good role player, but easily replaceable. The hype around him quickly died down, and he became nothing more than an afterthought. And there was this slightly controversial moment in the 2013 offseason where Kirilenko opted out of his last year with Minnesota, where he was going to earn $10 million. Instead, he resorted to signing with Brooklyn for a measly 2-year, $6 million contract. A lot of people believed there was some sort of conspiracy behind this, specifically because the Nets owner was Mikhail Prokhorov, a Russian citizen who many believed was paying Kirilenko under the table. Cause rejecting $10 million for $6 million over 2 years, it seemed very fishy. But after numerous complaints and investigations, the signing was cleared, much to the dismay of other playoff teams who really wanted him. So how good was AK-47 actually? Very, very good. In his prime, around a top 15 to 20 player in the league, a 1-time All-Star, 3-time All-Defender, a gold medalist at the 2007 Eurobasket, a bronze medalist at the 2012 Olympics. He impressed fans at the national stage as well. Defensively, I'd argue he was a top 3 defender in certain years. It's hard to compare his defense to someone like Duncan or Ben Wallace because they have different styles, and Kirilenko was more versatile on the perimeter. For some years, he finished in the top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Ridiculously underrated skill set, especially for his era. Nowadays, every single team would love to have someone like Kirilenko. A strong, quick, versatile defender, along with being a jack-of-all-trades offensive player. There was nothing this man could not do. If he got the chance, if he had the motivation to keep going, he could have had his own team. But in Utah, there was a lot of talent from top to bottom. It's reasonable that he would take a back seat. Over time, his injuries hurt him, he developed other interests, and his ambition quickly faded away. Perhaps he never reached his full potential, but at his peak, he was definitely a top-tier player. Anyway, that's all folks. Let me know your thoughts on Andrei Kirilenko. Do you believe even today not enough people talk about him? Defensively, he was an absolute stud, but it seems like he's largely forgotten. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.